Hey, hello, Tim.
Hey,
Good afternoon from here.
how are you doing?
Uh, I'm awesome. I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm very well, very well. I was a bit nervous. I thought I'd got the wrong time at first. I had it down
I
in
know,
my
right?
my clock as 8 a.m. Pacific time, and then I
Oh
discovered.
my.
Thank goodness that you sent me your calendar appointment because I
Oh
would have
my.
otherwise I would have been an hour late.
Wow. That's so cool. I'm happy I did. It's awesome to have you with us here today. This is actually very exciting. And we're actually looking forward to meet you to get to know more about you. And of course, we have tons of amazing questions from the community, and you're so eager to get answers to them.
Sure.
So it's awesome. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining us, this is the Flutter Affair. It's a series of virtual events we have. Flutter, it's organized by Flutter Africa community. We get to meet amazing people in the Flutter community, and today we are having someone very super special. And no other than Tim himself. Tim Sneath. Tim Sneath leads the product management for Flutter and Dart at Google. It's a known face. You're a member of the Flutter community, definitely. So I just want to say welcome everybody. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's today your birthday, Tim. It's today your birthday. I just saw happy birthday, Tim. I think I need to find out. So welcome everybody. I'm excited. I'm excited for today, and I'm looking forward to, of course, having a great time with no other than Tim Smith. So I want to go. I want to start first of all by asking you to introduce yourself, just a little more, to everyone who's watching and who will watch later.
You'd like me to introduce myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Tim Sneath, and I have been working on Flutter for a couple of years now. I joined Google in November 2017, and have been working on Flutter since that time. So it was a sort of a pre-beta at the time I joined, and my role, I look after product management. So I'm responsible for the vision, the roadmap, the hopefully the success of Flutter,
Mm,
and driving the community for Flutter. Working with an amazing team of other folk. We have engineers who have been come from incredible pedigrees across the industry. That you will see if you look on the GitHub repo, folk from um, Eric Seidel, who is the engineering lead for Flutter. He used to work on the Chrome browser, and before that used to work at Apple on Safari. Ian Hickson, who used to chair the or used to run the HTML working group. So, yeah, lots of very, very smart people, and it's my privilege to work with them and help build Flutter into hopefully a great community.
yeah. There's no denying the fact that the community around Florida is super, super awesome. As a matter of fact, I think when I started getting involved in the Florida community, that was some years back when I got to hear about Florida. I realized like this is one of the most awesome communities I've ever been part of. Like the love was there. There was this connection. Everyone was willing to help each other out, and it was just super amazing, super amazing. I was so happy, that Flutter has such an amazing community about around it. For everyone who is listening, Tim himself has been someone who has been very inspirational to every one of us. I think the first time where I encountered Tim was, I think, the first international Flutter hackathon sometime last year. So I was just presenting. I didn't even know I was speaking. Before I went live, I was speaking to a number of people, and we're just having a good time. And I didn't even know Tim was one of them. So when after I finished presenting and I saw a tweet from Tim and he was like, oh my God, we just closed the event, from Port Harcourt. And I was like, oh my goodness. So this was actually Tim. Oh, Tim was there. Oh my God. It was just amazing. And there were so many amazing people in the room too, I was speaking with. I was like, oh, I didn't know the guys behind the Flutter were the guys I was actually speaking with. And I was so amazed. And in fact, I felt so good. I was like, oh my, like, Mama, I've made it. So it was actually a good time, and there's so many good times like that, from the Flutter community because of how supportive, it has been and it continues to be so far. So yeah, if you're a member of this community, you're definitely one of the best tech communities to be in. So welcome again, Tim. It's awesome to have you here. So first of all, I just want Tim has something to present for us, something really special, something amazing, and I would like him to just go over that, and tell us what he has for us.
Yeah, sure. Let me see if I can get this to present successfully, and hopefully you can see this come up. Yeah, so I just wanted to just start just and sort of maybe sort of share a little bit of my gratitude for everybody to join us. I'm very grateful for the African community in particular. I think one of the things that I've appreciated. I've travelled in various parts of Africa myself. I spent time in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Tanzania, and one of the things that has always amazed me has been the strength of and the smarts of the community, and the just the talent. When I was in Tanzania, I had the chance to check out some of the I can't remember the right word to describe them, but the various sort of small sort of hacker communities in Dar es Salaam. Lots of these little groups of folk working on startup ideas that rivaled anything that I've seen in the Bay Area in California. And the ingenuity, the smarts, the talent that I think you have is undervalued by the US, by Google even. And so I want to thank you for contributing. I want to thank you for all that you bring. And I believe in the opportunities that Flutter brings to the community. In particular, the ability to participate on an international stage really, I think, gives people in Africa the chance to show all the talents that you have to the broader world community. So I'm excited by the already the things that we see for Flutter, and I hope that Flutter in return can be an agent of growth and opportunity for you in Africa. And yeah.
I share same philosophy. One of the amazing things about Flutter is that it's cross-platform compatible. I mean, your code is natively compiled across so many platforms. I've even seen Flutter running on IoT devices, so like it's just super amazing. And for somewhere like Africa, for Nigeria, where most times companies are trying to cut down costs, development costs, it's just a super amazing platform that companies can pick up and use, to shorten the time to development and shorten the development costs and just get the ball rolling, get their product out there. It's a really super amazing platform we have here.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to just share a couple of stats, and I'll be fairly fast because I also want to make sure there's time for some good questions. But I did some searching through our data. We have been sort of tracking this growth in Africa as a whole. This is using the Google Analytics. You'll know that when you launch Flutter for the first time, it says, "Are you okay to share just some basic data with us?" And one of the things that we've seen is just over the last year alone, we've seen triple the number of users in Africa. So you can see here, this is
Wow.
users per week. We have seen triple from 5,000 to 15,000, and that's encouraging. It's exciting to me. It suggests again all the opportunity that there is, and I'm excited to see where this chart carries on for 2021. But
Wow,
again,
that's some serious growth right there.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Wow.
And then if we look across, this is now worldwide. If we look at Flutter as a whole, you can see this curve. It's not a straight line. It's a geometric growth curve of app installations, and you can see that we have grown from over the last, I guess, what is this, sort of 16, 17 months. We've grown from about 10,000 apps in the store to nearly 100,000 apps in the store. And so again, it's sort of very, very fast growth of adoption for Flutter. That's very exciting to see.
Yeah, it sure is. Wow.
Another way we measure Flutter's adoption is by engagement, and here we're looking at Stack Overflow, which, as everybody knows, is one of the primary places people go to find answers and questions. And on the left, you can see blue is Flutter there. You can see the fast growth in number of questions being asked about Flutter. And you can see that that's a very, very similar trend to the apps. And you might say, well, Flutter's a new platform, therefore that's why there are lots of questions being asked. But we're also seeing a growth in the number of views of the questions. On the right-hand side there, you can see this sort of growth in usage, and so you can see every month there's like sort of 3.5 million views of things for Flutter. So lots of people are asking questions and getting their questions answered, which is really encouraging to see.
Yeah, definitely. And these numbers are just way, way, way astronomical. Like they're really good.
And then the other thing, so as we look sort of beyond the sort of traditional roots of Flutter, as you know, we created Flutter, or we started Flutter publicly as a mobile toolkit, as a toolkit for building apps for iOS and Android. And what we've seen over the last year or so, as we've got further and further with our support for desktop and for web development, has been this cascade of new apps that are coming out for those platforms. And I think one of the things that's been most exciting to me is to see how many of those desktop apps in particular have come from Africa. I think all of these examples here are examples of African developers building, either reproducing existing designs or creating brand new designs. And of course, your own Flutter Africa community has catalogued many of these on the Medium article at the bottom there. So you are truly leading the way for the world in this regard. It's really, really, really exciting to see.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I remember you calling it the Flutter Africa World Cup.
Yes.
So who won the World Cup? Was there ever a final? Was there a quarterfinal?
I think it was a draw. There were so many good examples. I would hate to pick one country over another country, but for sure there was some healthy competition with folk from Ghana and Nigeria, and I think there are a few from Kenya, and where else? Angola, I think there was one or two. So yes, very, very impressive.
Oh, that's awesome.
And of course, the desktop stuff we just continue to grow on this front. Linux is getting very, very close. We have several engineers from Canonical, from Ubuntu, who are contributing to build out Linux desktop support. And then Microsoft continue to work with us. We are chatting with various different teams from Microsoft, and in particular, the Surface team have been very interested in bringing desktop class support to their Android-powered Surface Duo device. But also to the sort of broader sized devices. And so we've met with Microsoft repeatedly to talk about different ways to improve their support for Windows. And hopefully you'll start to see that in various different builds if you install Flutter on the desktop.
Yay. I can't wait for that. That would be so exciting.
And then the other side is Dart, the language. And so we've been working on improving the Dart's capabilities for null safety. This is, as we describe it, the biggest non-breaking feature in Dart's history. And by non-breaking, what I mean there is that your code does not stop working. Null safety is something that you can use to migrate and move forward, and you can choose how and the pace with which you opt in. But from our side, the language feature itself is getting pretty stable at this point. We've got a good support for the feature in the Dart SDK. And the next stage is working on migrating the Flutter framework to all be null safe. Once the framework is null safe, then we will be ready for people to experiment more fully with null safety in your own apps and frameworks. So and right now it's still in that sort of experimental stage, but we've nearly completed the work to migrate the Flutter framework itself, and then we will migrate our own Google 3 code. And what you're seeing on the right hand side there is some migration tooling that helps you migrate your existing code. So you're going to be able to run this tool on your code and see what changes you might want to make to add null safety to your code. So the code itself is a bit small here, but we've introduced a new keyword, late, which enables you to say that a variable is initialized, but initialized late in the cycle. And then you can add query and exclamation signs to indicate whether a type is nullable or not, and to remove the nullability from the type. So that's coming very soon. Stay tuned.
Wow, that's super cool. That's super cool. I can't wait.
And then a couple of other things very quickly. You may have seen we've replaced and updated the PubDev website. We've completely rewritten the site with a brand new UI. We've been doing some work around making it easier to run Dart from a command line. We have a new Dart developer tool that is designed for unifying all the different Dart commands. And this tool will be also part of the Flutter installation. So you don't any longer have to install Dart separately to Flutter. All the things you need will be in the same tool. And then lastly, as we sort of look forward, we're also thinking beyond null safety and thinking about what are the other features that we can implement. And one of the things that we've been thinking about is this feature we're calling enhanced default constructors. This is not a finished design here. It's something we're experimenting with. But the idea is if you've got a class that contains some data, like this class here, this is a class that has a name. It's a dog class, so it's got a name, it's got the type of dog, and the number of boops on its nose, so it's like a counter. So we've been experimenting with adding a new data keyword to the front of that class, and you see here you add the word data. And then there are some things that if we see that this is a data class, we can create automatically for you, some syntactic sugar that we can add to the class. So here, now we will automatically take care of the constructor, take care of the toString method, take care of semantics for comparisons of objects, and take care of doing shallow clones of the of the class from one class to another. So this is trying to reduce the amount of boilerplate code that you write in Dart, and we have a couple of proposals that are live on the Dart repo for discussing options here.
Wow, I've never seen this before. This is the first time I'm coming across this, and it looks so interesting, wow. Wow, yeah, exciting times ahead for us Flutter developers.
So there we go. So those are my slides. And again, thank you so much. It's really great to have the chance to chat with you all.
Yeah, it's amazing. The honor. I mean, it's an honor for us, and wow, I've learned so much today about Flutter already. And wow, I'm just excited. I'm really excited. So, Tim, I just want to, like dive straight into, because there's so many amazing questions that the community wants, answers to, and I'm so excited to share them with you. So the first one I want to go over here. I think it's coming from, okay, it's coming from Brimo Richard. His question is, would Flutter be the only framework that will be able to build apps for Fuchsia OS?
For Fuchsia, Fuchsia is an experimental project from Flutter or from Google. Fuchsia is really looking at ideas for how operating systems might be constructed in the future. It's not a project that you can easily take and install today. But all of the codes for Fuchsia, you can see it's an open source project in its own right. So you can go to fuchsia.dev, that's fuchsia.dev, and you can see that everything that is public about Fuchsia. Yeah, we haven't really talked a great deal about it in terms of vision or anything like that, but it really is a testing ground for some of the ideas that we have. Yeah, so I can't really tell you an awful lot about Fuchsia. It's a project that we're working on within Google. But everything that that we've said in public about Fuchsia is visible in the source code. So rather than give you a direct answer, I'm going to point you at fuchsia.dev, and you're welcome to look at and experiment with the source code there.
Okay, that's exciting. I didn't even know it was available. The source code was already out there, so I glanced that right now. Okay, that's cool. So moving on to the next question. I think this one is coming from Ibe Ara. Her question is, what Flutter features stand out in terms of scalability and performance over other cross platforms?
Sorry, say the question again. What features stand out?
Yeah, like what Flutter features stand out in terms of scalability and performance when compared to other cross platform development.
Oh, yeah. So the way that Flutter is built is maybe different to how other cross-platform frameworks have traditionally been built. We have there are lots of ways to build a framework, right? If you think about different apps or different frameworks that exist, if you think of a framework like the Android UI framework itself, what's essentially going on there is Android draws some framework components that then itself are rendered using graphics engine. In Android's case, they use Skia, which is the same engine that powers Flutter. And so Android physically draws the boxes, the check boxes, the buttons on the screen, the text, and then passes it down to Skia to render. And then Skia is responsible for you creating the GPU primitives, the language that the actual hardware expects to physically render the UI on the screen. So that's how traditional native frameworks work. typically cross-platform frameworks like, I don't know, Cordova or React Native, they typically work by using the web browser for the platform. And so what they do is they draw, well, they do things in different ways. Cordova, as I understand it, renders into the web canvas. React Native, you write your code in JavaScript, and then the JavaScript code itself talks to the underlying operating system to render the native controls. That's the native part of React Native. And so there's this sort of slightly different approach there, which is a good approach if you have to try and reach all these different platforms. It makes it easy for the framework's perspective, because the framework doesn't have to handle all that rendering side of things. Flutter takes a slightly different approach that is more like any other native framework. So Flutter, just like the Android system framework, itself renders all the widgets, all the objects, and Flutter includes, when you install a Flutter app, it includes its own skier engine along with the app. So Flutter is just like any other native framework. It renders its code using renders its UI directly. One thing that is kind of, we think, is the best of both worlds is that because Flutter is also written in Dart, it compiles to native code, native ARM code. And so not only your code, but also the system code is compiled to ARM code. And that's really, that combination of those two things is what makes Flutter a pretty fast framework. Your code is compiled, the UI is rendered directly using Skier, not through some web stack. And there's no JavaScript, there's no interpretation, there's no sort of middle layers there. It just uses directly the system libraries. Maybe just a quick thing in terms of how the tooling works. We have a suite of tools now that are great for letting you see what's going on under the covers. And if you install the latest Dart dev tools, we've actually got tools that let you break down some of those different steps, and you can see exactly what's going on when you render your code.
Wow, interesting. So that would lead me to the next question. I think someone is asking about tooling. Okay, and this is coming from what's the name? Can't see the name. So what feature stand out in terms of what's it? Okay, I think the question is not correct. Let me just move to the next one. Okay, this is coming from Scott Stoll. Okay, and the question is: have the engineers for the web looked at the possibility of lazily loading an app? Okay, or loading in multiple paths, so we could make larger web apps where the users will not have to wait for the whole download before the app starts.
Yeah, so that's a question about yes, deferred loading, and yes, we do have some deferred loading support in Flutter Web now. The one of the things that's sort of interesting about, as you go to all these different platforms, right, from mobile to desktop to web, is that they all have their own characteristics. Mobile apps, of course, are designed for small screens. Desktop screens are much larger. Mobile apps are touch screens. Desktop apps typically a keyboard and mouse. The web, one of the interesting characteristics of the web is that it's what we call ephemeral. Ephemeral means that every time you go to the web page, of course, you're essentially you never install an app. Every time you go, you're essentially starting the app, an app from scratch, and so that creates that means that if you don't have anything cached, it's got to load it all up front, or everything that isn't manually deferred. And so we do have some deferral keywords in Flutter for Web that let you not load the whole Flutter app, but just load the parts that you need up front. And as you navigate from page to page, Flutter pulls the other components in. And there's the best place to see that in action is the Flutter Gallery app. Let me see if I can grab the link for that real quick. I think it's gallery.flutter.dev. That site is where you can go to see a really good example of a Flutter web application live. And this is a combination of multiple different. Let me just share the screen. You can see this real quick. Here we are. So hopefully folk can see this. This is the gallery app. And if I just reload that real quick, you can see it loads fairly fast here. And as I go from screen to screen, what's going on in the background is it's now doing that deferred loading of the different sort of pages here. So these are different experiences that are all Flutter web experiences. We've got that deferred loading in place to speed up how each individual screen occurs. We've been working on performance for this. We've been using it as a test bed for our own performance improvements, and we've seen this app. I forget the exact numbers, but multiple orders or multiple factors of improvement to the app performance. Another thing to try if you have this app on your own machine is you can install this as a gallery app. I don't know if this is going to come across on the screen here. No, I'm going to have to just quickly recast. Hang on. So what I've got here is I've created this as a. Can you see that? Is that showing up? This is also what we call a PWA. Is that showing? Can you see it on your screen? I'm not sure if you can. There it is. Thank you. Yeah, so this is now a PWA, a Flutter Web PWA. So now what you're seeing is you see there's no Chrome browser, there's no address URL, but this is a real web app. So on my screen, I've got an icon for it, an installation icon, and you can see the same experience, but see how things like the title bar for the window are automatically adjusting to match the color of the app. So this can really feel like a native experience, and that's just using the power of the PWA progressive web app model. And so again, things like resizing works. If I make this small, you can see it sort of switches to a small scale experience. So it's just a very nice sort of experience. And this is again, part of those unique characteristics of a web and a desktop experience. So a lot of the work that we're doing right now in Flutter is supporting this kind of experience, making sure that large scale experiences work well, that we have the right metaphors, that we support things like mouse hover and right click and things like that, so that they work well.
Yeah, if I should add, I think the apps in the gallery, they're all looking beautiful. They're all looking amazing.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, yeah, so someone is interested in knowing, this is Nawal Hamwi. Hope I got it right. Nawal Hamwi. He wants to know, can we see Flutter Web in production this year?
I want to know that too.
All right. So we're not sure.
The team are working hard. I think the challenge for us here is how do we get to a point where we feel like it's stable quality, right? And stable just means that we feel that it is ready for production usage, that we have seen enough external examples of Flutter Web successful that we'll feel confident in it. So the team are working on a couple of features, but most of what we're doing right now is fixing bugs as they come in, fixing customer bugs. The features that we're currently working on are accessibility, making sure that it supports keyboard navigation, supports screen readers for people who are blind or have visual impairment. And then secondly, we're continuing to work on performance. There's this major re-architecture that we've been working on for a while, which is the support for this feature we call Canvas Kit. Canvas Kit is faster way to render graphics to the screen. And once that is it's there, you can turn it on in an experimental mode. Our blogs talk about that. We want it to be the default way, and that means that we have to make some changes to improve the rendering quality there. Once those two things are done, then it's just a matter of bug fixing and closing down. And so hopefully we will be. I believe we're on the glide path. We're getting ready. The plane is coming into land. I'm not going to predict this year or yeah.
Okay.
But hopefully the plane will land on the runway soon.
Okay, that's fine. We'll be looking forward to that. So someone here, his name is okay. The name is okay. The name is Adekola Olawale. And the question is, what is the hidden superpower of Flutter that developers don't know about yet? Oh my, this sounds very interesting.
Wow, the hidden superpower.
Hidden superpower.
Well, if there's a hidden one, then it's our fault because we should have told people about it.
I know, right?
Let's think of a hidden superpower that Flutter has. Yeah, actually, I'm going to pick one. I think one of the things that I have been experimenting a lot with recently is the ability to write code that talks natively to the underlying system. So we have this feature called FFI, which stands for Foreign Function Interface. And FFI is basically the ability to call from Dart into C-based libraries directly without using platform channels or doing any kind of complex code. And so as my own hobby project, I'm a product manager, right? I'm not a developer. It's not my job to physically write the code, but it's also important that I keep my keep experimenting with it directly. And so I've been working on a hobby project to use FFI with the Win32 libraries, the Windows API, so you can check that out. There's a package called Win32 on the pub.dev site. And what I've done with that package is to try and wrap some of the common Windows APIs for Dart and Flutter usage. And it's amazing that you can build almost any traditional Windows app using Dart and using Flutter. And you can call into all of those features. So there's so much you can do with that. One of the things I've had fun with is using just Dart, just from the command line, not the whole Flutter sort of side of things. And I've been able to build a full Notepad, the traditional Windows Notepad app, using just Dart and FFI and the Windows API. So yeah, that's my little hobby, but I think it's
that's
kind
nice.
of fun. So go check that out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I would love to check it out. I would love to. Okay, that's cool. So someone here is asking, that's Yola Akambi. Is asking, will a scroll bar be implemented in Flutter Web? Yeah.
Maybe say that question again. What is cool about?
Yola Akambi is asking, will a scroll bar be implemented in Flutter Web?
I'm sorry, I'm missing that first word there. What is
scroll bar? It's scroll bar. Scroll bar.
Oh, scroll bar. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, my my English accent is a.
Yeah, the accent is different. I understand.
It's my British. I was born in England, so I have an English accent, and I spent a lot of time listening to American accents, and not enough time listening to African accents. But yes, scroll bars. We have scrolling support. You're right. It's a bit of a gap today. Its performance of scrolling has been a bit slow. And so we're continuing to work on that. It's a good question. I'm gonna just do a quick search and see if I can find the web details on that. See if I can find that. But yeah, it's something that's on our list of areas that we've got some work to do to get to release. I can't find the issue off the top of immediately, but it's something that has to be improved before we are ready to go to release. I'm just continuing to look for it real quick. So just give me a second. You're asking a specific question about a specific feature here, of course. Let's see, where are we at here? Here we are. This is a P4 issue. The nice thing about this, actually, I should say, is that whenever you look at these things, you can see, because of course the whole bug database is public. You can always answer these questions just the same way that I do, by checking online. So this is this is all I'm doing here, is I'm searching our own public database here, and you can see this is one. I'm not sure if this is the specific one that people are looking for here, but you can see the labels here will tell you platform web and the priority for particular issues. And this one, it looks like this is Yegor. He's one of the developers here, and looks like there was one issue here that was closed here. Web has no side scroll bar, and that looks like that issue is closed. It's a duplicate of 40107, and there we go, missing scroll bars. Okay, so that's the same issue there. So this is a great way of sort of just checking out where we're at. This looks like it was a P4 issue. So this is about disabling scroll bars. If I look at the issues as a whole here, you can always see what's going on by checking out a couple of things here. So if I look for the label here, I can see platform web. That's showing me all the issues relating to the web. And then I can pick a particular thing like scroll, and that'll give me a bit more sort of information about the different scrolling sort of issues that are here. And I can see there's 49 issues that are still open. And if I look at sort of issues that are sort of probably, I'm going to be looking at for something that is like a L3 here, P3. This is a sort of a sort of more significant issue here. And you can read the issue and see sort of obviously some of the stuff here. You can see this one is something that is close to being worked on by the looks of things. The other thing you can look at here is you can look at the projects, and the projects show you what we're actually working on right now. So again, this is the web performance stuff that we're working on, and you can see that there's 6 items that we're physically working on or about to start. There's a specific bug around Firefox, and you can see the stuff that we're actually. And I think this might be the one that actually people have been asking for around scrolling, because this I know is been a sort of an ongoing issue. And if I go to this one here, you can see that this one looks like it's been closed probably quite recently, I think. Yeah, so there you go, because that one has been fixed by this one here, which is there you go, static content scrolling. So yeah, this is a great way to kind of check out what's going on and check out sort of which bugs are under development and not. And the projects themselves provide a great way to see what work is currently underway. And again, if I just go back to the projects for a moment here, you can see all the different projects that we're currently sort of tracking and working. Here's one for iOS 14. There's a project around Windows. If I look at the Windows one, this is how we're tracking Windows at the moment. And you can see that we're getting pretty close to Windows Preview, because the Windows Preview bug has only a few tasks left to go. We had 42 items that are done, 3 in progress, and 42 here that are in place.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so this question here is one I'm actually very, very keen. to get your response, to hear from you about. So, what exactly inspired the creation of Flutter? Is this something you can share with us?
What is the inspiration? Say that
Yeah,
again.
behind the creation of Flutter.
Oh, like why does Google create Flutter? um, yeah, so Flutter is interesting. If you go back to the kind of the roots, and Eric Seidel, who was, as I mentioned earlier on, he was one of the co-founders of Flutter. He talks about this in some detail. Flutter was started out of the Chrome project. There were a few experiments going on around performance for Chrome in the early days. And there was one experiment around the language and around JavaScript. Could we improve the performance of JavaScript, or is there a better language for development? And then there was an experiment, sort of to try and investigate whether backward compatibility is of the web was the cause of some of the slow performance for the web. So Flutter kind of started out of that project, an attempt to see if we could create a new engine for the web. Then it sort of took its own life on. They started Flutter Flutter originally looked very much like the web. It used CSS and used JavaScript, but it wasn't compatible with the web as we think about it today. And then gradually, we replaced CSS and JavaScript with Dart, and it started to look more like how it looks today. Yeah, why does Google do Flutter? A couple of reasons. Somebody's mentioned Fuchsia already. That was an experimental operating system project for Google, and Fuchsia needed the ability to draw UI and to render UI. So that was one reason. Another reason is that we use Flutter ourselves internally. And as you know, we often talk about Flutter being fast to develop with. Building your code once for multiple platforms, hot reload, making it fast to iterate and develop. And our own teams see that as well. One team did an investigation that showed that they were able to write code 80% faster with Flutter, even for one platform. Wow. And then they could reach both platforms for only 20% extra work. So Google engineers are expensive. It's not cheap to hire somebody of that caliber. So if we can take 100 Google engineers and make them do the work of 200 Google engineers, then Flutter has already more than paid for itself.
Wow.
And then lastly, I think for us, to have a solution like this that solves customer problems, we contribute heavily towards open source projects. It's good for Google to be invested in creating open source projects, and so we do that also.
Wow, that's so cool. So Cynthia Peter here is asking, what skills one needs to acquire to intern at Flutter as a technical writer or product manager?
I mean, so to work on Flutter, there's a couple of things. I mean, I think what we really are looking for is people who are active Flutter developers. We ourselves hire strong engineers with strong engineering talent. And we look for people who have a lot of skills in the languages and the capabilities that Flutter itself is written with. So C++, of course, for the engine, and the Dart framework, of course. The typical Google engineer is somebody with often an advanced degree, somebody who has a fair amount of existing experience in professional software development. our intern programs typically recruit from colleges, and you can apply for the internship programs, but typically we're looking at students who have a strong CS background. But yeah, the other thing I think somebody else mentioned on the chat thread, we're all part of the Flutter community. There's no such thing as the Flutter team. We're all part of the same family here. So as folk build Flutter apps, and as you make changes to the framework, anybody can submit a pull request. Anybody can write documentation, and we're eager to see Flutter not be just a Google project, but to be a general open source project. So having more people do that is great.
Okay, that's nice. Similarly, Ali wants to know, how does one get into GSOC for Flutter?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know, actually. I think the simple answer is to go to the GSOC website, which is summerofcode.withgoogle.com, and you can apply, I think, through that process. I'm pretty sure there's a way on that site to apply for GSOC. But that's for those who don't know, GSOC is the Google Summer of Code. It's a program that encourages students to go work on a project for a couple of months, working with Google engineers, and it's sort of a great sort of summer program to fill sort of some of the gaps. And it's an incredible program that Google does. There are lots of really interesting sort of projects that people have worked on, I would encourage folk to kind of go and have a look at the website here. I have no sort of secret backdoor entry into the program. But we'd love to see more Flutter GSOC programs. We've used this well up till this point ourselves.
Oh, that's cool. I noticed that only joined the GSOC program recently, I think last year. Okay, so Nana Yao wants to know, when is the game engine coming to Flutter, I think? I think I want to know that too. I want to know
that. These are great questions. There's actually a surprising number of Flutter games that are starting to appear already. Somebody sent me one just the other day. Let me see if I can find it. Here we are. There's a company who are doing some really interesting games here. Let me share this screen with you. This is a world first here. This is the first time I've shared this. I was going to tweet about it, but I will share it with you here. So this is a company called Nutty Party, and they have a bunch of these casual games. This is one of them called Word Links. They have another one called Party Mafia. And these are all built with Flutter. This is a Flutter app here. And so you have these different roles. Everybody plays this game from different perspectives. So you can be the lawyer or the bodyguard, but these are Flutter games. These are kind of casual games, if you like. These are games that you can sort of play without needing like a game engine or a sprite engine, like you mentioned. But these are pretty cool games. So check these out. nuttyparty.com/wordlinks and nuttyparty.com/partymafia.
Okay, I'm definitely checking them out.
Some inspiration. But there's some good game engines starting to appear for Flutter already. If I do a search here, there's Flame. This is the one of the best ones that we've seen so far. And this is actually pretty comprehensive. There's a whole bunch of different tutorials here that you can see how to build a Flutter game. So I would encourage you to go check this out.
Yeah,
We're not.
I'm sure checking them out. They look interesting.
Yeah. We're not working on a game engine directly ourselves at the moment. There's a lot of unique needs to games, and right now we're focused on sort of the app scenario, but Flutter is very much able to support this kind of experience. And as we complete other parts of the mobile space, I'm sure we will do more here. But for now, Flame is a great tool to use.
That's pretty cool. I know about it myself, and I find it really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so we're wrapping up real soon. So, Ade Doku Emmanuel here wants to know. He said he would love documentation on how to contribute to the Flutter framework and packages.
Oh yeah, and we'd love that too. We'd love you to contribute. Here's a few things you can go and check out here. If you go to the GitHub repo, and I'll go back here real quick so you can see the Flutter repo here. We have a link here called Contributing that talks a little bit about how to participate. And there are a few things that we're really keen on. A great way to get started is looking at the issues, and as you know, we have a lot of issues. People submit issues. Many of you may have submitted issues. One of the things that really helps us is having reproducible cases, right? So if somebody says, "I've got a problem doing X, Y, Z," then it's really helpful to have a tight code example that demonstrates the problem, because then others in the team can easily take that, see the gap between how it should work and how it is working. So that's a great way to get started, is looking at our issues and helping produce reproductions. In some cases, there's an old reproduction that was maybe for 1.12 or 1.9 or 1.5. And to be able to test that on the latest code and say, yes, I can still see this as a problem, that's very helpful to us. Then in terms of writing code, there's a really good article at the bottom of this page here that talks about how to get involved in the actual kind of code writing. And this comes from the Flutter community. Ayush here wrote this a little bit about how to write a PR, how to write a pull request for the code itself.
Oh, cool. And, can you share the link so I can share it later?
Yeah, I will post this in here. I'm going to post it in the live YouTube chat there.
Awesome.
And yeah, so you can check that out. And in particular, I'd like to again say, the documentation is really the most valuable sort of place to get to contribute. We all learn from documentation. I read the documentation every day myself. I learn things, and sometimes I see that there are things that are missing, and then I try and make changes to the documentation. And that's all again online. If you go to Flutter website here, you can see all the documentation that exists. There are issues again. Some of these things are really easy. Like if you just want a simple place to start, there's things like here. Look, a typo, right? That's really easy to fix. Anybody can do that. It doesn't need a Google employee to do that. And you can get started with something small like that. And a pull request is as easy as creating that and putting it in here. And you see lots of people submit these kind of pull requests, and we review them. You don't have to worry about making a mistake. And you'll see here. So, this is somebody who has seen that there's a gap in the splash screen documentation. And they've submitted something here. And we've taken that, and you see that we're checking it, and this kind of thing just makes Flutter better for everybody. So I'd encourage you to do that.
Yeah, so this is also like a good first issue, first open source contribution for even people who are new to Flutter.
Yes, indeed,
Yeah,
indeed.
that's nice. That's cool. So Ibe Ara wants to know, do the Flutter team have a plan to run boot camps across Africa, especially Nigeria, to breed more developers?
Yeah, we have a plan for community, and it's called the community. It's wonderful people like the Flutter Africa group. So I really want to encourage folk join local community groups. I personally would love to travel back to Africa once the current COVID pandemic is over. Maybe we'll be able to make that happen. I have always enjoyed my time in Africa, and I always enjoy meeting incredible people doing incredible things. But yes, we with every kind of major release, every year we're running different sort of events and things. But really, what we try and do is to seed the community. We want to see everybody else successful. We don't want to just do it all ourselves. We want it to be a community family. And so, if you want to run a boot camp, I would encourage you to run a boot camp, and we would love to support you. And you can always reach out to our team for help with that. We have programs to help enable groups like Flutter Africa, and I know there are many other country-specific communities for different parts of Africa. So join the Flutter Lagos or join one of the other groups, and we'd love to help you with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, just based off that question, I would like to know, should we look forward to perhaps hosting a major Flutter event in Africa where you're going to be present? Especially since you might be coming around anytime soon.
Yeah. We did the Flutter 1.0 launch in Europe. We did the Flutter Interact event in the USA. So we've done 2 continents. We now need to go somewhere else. I don't know where's next, but I like emphasizing the worldwide nature of it. So who knows? I can't make a promise, but.
Okay, we're just gonna hope. Maybe content. Okay, that's cool. I'm really very excited that we're having this, and I've learned a whole lot about Flutter, about the community. It's just amazing, and you team, you're just one amazing individual, and we're very lucky to have you. Championing a framework like this. So I just want to go over maybe the comments on YouTube, see if I can pick 2 questions, and then we call it a wrap.
Okay.
YouTube. Okay, so Jacob is asking. Okay, I think he was asking this in reference to some earlier question. Does it mean that the same set of engineers that created Chrome also created Flutter?
No, I mean, the people that worked on the story I told there was the people who started Flutter. They left the Chrome team, and now Flutter is a separate team. But it started from the Chrome team. And a little secret you might see if you look at the copyright on Flutter. Sometimes you'll see the copyright says copyright the Chromium team, and that's because of its heritage. That's because some of those early files were written when Flutter was still under Chrome. So that's why.
Oh, that's awesome. So the next question I think would be the last for this is coming from Scott Stoll. It says, as a group manager over Flutter and Dart, walk us through a day in the life, especially when teams don't necessarily want the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think product management is an interesting discipline. Product management is about managing different groups of needs and trying to come up with a good outcome, often by helping different groups of people sort of see all the information that's available. So a typical day right now is sitting in front of my computer here in my house because of the pandemic. Our offices are closed, but there's a lot of meetings, a lot of email, a lot of spending time on online. Typically, we spend a lot of time as a product management team trying to synthesize a combination of user research, quantitative research, community feedback, large customers, engineering needs, internal business goals, and pulling those pieces together into a cohesive plan of action. And again, I spend a lot of my time trying to encourage the team to also be hands-on with the product, not just be somebody who writes documents, but to actually write code as well. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. It has been really awesome with your team. We've got to meet you. We've got to know more about Flutter. We've got to learn more about the community, the current state of Flutter, the future of Flutter. In fact, there's just so much information right here. I think myself, I'll come back to this video sometime later, definitely, to watch it and digest a whole lot of this information. And we're super excited, and we're excited even as a community, Flutter Africa, that to have support from Google like this, because we just want to let people in Africa know about Flutter and allow them know that they could build with it and they could do amazing things with it. And it's awesome to have Google offering support in the ways they could. And we're excited and very much excited for this event today. I want to say thank you for doing this, and I want to say thank you to Flutter and the Flutter team for just being awesome, like always. And we look forward, of course, to more amazing things coming out of Flutter and out of the Flutter community in general.
Yeah, thank you again so much. Thank you, everybody else. Again, join a community, join the Flutter Africa, follow Flutter Africa on Twitter, and share what you're creating. I love seeing what you're building. So whenever I see a screenshot on Twitter, that makes me so happy.
That's cool. That's nice. So thank you, team, and thank you everybody who's been part of this. This is going to be available on YouTube. Yeah, or you can always come back to watch it. This has been another episode of Flutter Affair, and today we're honored to have Tim Sneath, the product manager for Flutter and Dart at Google, with us. And you could definitely catch up some other episodes with some other amazing people, both in the Flutter Africa community and beyond. Yeah, we'll be excited, of course, to have you join us. So thank you, everybody, for being part of this, and thank you so much again, Tim Sneath, for doing this. Okay, yeah, we're so happy. All right, guys. Thank you, and see you on some other episode. Goodbye. Goodbye.